Greetings, cinephiles! I'm Mark Ellis, and welcome to RT Essentials. Today, we're showcasing some of the greatest martial arts fights from some of the greatest martial arts actors ever. These legends deserve the utmost respect. And you know who I'm talking about. The Jackie Chans, the Bruce Lees, the Donnie Yens, the ones who've done almost 100% of their own stunts, dedicating and risking their lives for the love of the craft. And not in vain, because the martial arts subgenre is adored by millions, and the fights on this list have pushed the cinematic boundaries while raising the bar for all action films that followed. But Mark, how do we know which fights are the best? Would you just relax? This is why I'm here. These are the most iconic martial arts fight scenes. Ip Man versus 10 black belts. Ip Man. First up is Ip Man vs. 10 Black Belts from the 2008 biographical actioner Ip Man. Throughout the film, Ip tries to keep a low profile, but he is enraged after witnessing his friend, Master Lu, being shot in the head by a deputy of General Miura. Ip deduces that Miura has also killed his close friend Lien, so he demands a match against 10 karateka at once and brutally defeats every last one of them. For those unfamiliar with the real Ip Man, he was the Grandmaster of Wing Chun, a southern Chinese kung fu style that blended quick arm and leg movements with methods of relaxation and softness. But don't go thinking softness is harmless. As Ip Man stated in an interview, if one equates the soft school of martial with weakness, then they are dead wrong. Wing Chun is to maintain one's flexibility and softness, all the while keeping in the strength to fight back, much like the flexible nature of bamboo. That's so much wisdom. I didn't even mention that he's the guy who trained Bruce Lee, so a total badass. And a movie loosely based on the life of a badass requires badass actors in the lead. Enter Chinese action star Donnie Yen, skilled in an array of martial arts like Tai Chi, Taekwondo, and yes, most relevantly, Wing Chun. Yen spent months training to prepare for this role, one he's described as the most emotionally and mentally difficult in his career. But it paid off because Ip Man was a critical and commercial success and spawned a 4-film series. Grandmaster Man would have been proud. Fei-Hung vs. John, Drunken Master 2. Jackie Chan is one of the all-time greats, and we could spend entire episodes just discussing some of his classic fights and stunts, and maybe we'll get to do that eventually. But for today, we're focusing on one particularly iconic battle, Fei-Hung vs. John from the action comedy Drunken Master 2. Chan plays Wong Fei-Hung, a legendary Chinese martial artist who can't seem to stay out of trouble, and yes, as the movie's title suggests, he's got a bit of a drinking problem. Okay, so he's got a serious drinking problem, which leads him to consistently get into fights and almost causing his father to lose his land. You'd think that the constant drama would be enough to motivate Fei-Hung to lay off the sauce, but it ain't so simple. The only way Fei-Hung is able to unlock the drunken boxing fighting style and reach peak martial arts performance is to be intoxicated. Though the film takes the idea of drunken boxing quite literally, there's actually a style of Chinese martial arts that imitates the movements of a drunk person, one that leans heavily on deception and strange striking angles. This technique is utilized by Chan as he fights real-life Taekwondo champion Ken Lo. In this beautifully choreographed, expertly shot sequence, both Chan and Lo are performing all of their own stunts. I don't know what's more impressive, Lo's kicking abilities or Chan's tolerance for pain. That shot where John kicks Fei-Hung onto a pile of burning red-hot coals and then Fei-Hung shuffles and crawls across them? Yeah, it looks realistic, doesn't it? Because it's real. Chan actually crawled over hot coals and did it twice because he didn't feel like he nailed it on the first take. The guy just has a burning desire for perfection. Neo versus Morpheus, The Matrix. If only learning Kung Fu was as simple as hitting a download button, like in the Neo vs. Morpheus fight from The Matrix. When the Wachowskis were conceptualizing their action scenes, they took direct inspiration from several martial arts films, such as Iron Monkey, Once Upon a Time in China, and even Drunken Master. But the film that had the most obvious influence was Fist of Legend, a 1994 Hong Kong actioner produced by and starring Jet Li. Fist of Legend was a remake of the 1972 Bruce Lee film Fist of Fury. We'll get to that later. If you're looking for clues as to why the fighting in The Matrix so closely resembles the fighting in Fist of Legend, look no further than Hong Kong martial arts choreographer Yen Wu Ping, who the Wachowskis were huge fans of, and imported to Hollywood to work on their films. Wu Ping had only 4 months to train and prep the Matrix actors so they could perform most of their own stunts. According to Wu Ping, martial arts takes a lifetime to master, so they were in quite a hurry, adding that everyone had injuries from the intensive process and that it was all created with blood, sweat, and tears.
Come on, stop trying to hit me and hit me!
As they say, no pain, no gain, and all that work resulted in one of the most groundbreaking fight scenes in cinematic history, in which a sparring program set in a traditional East Asian dojo is constructed so that Neo can practice his hand-to-hand combat on Morpheus. This sequence employs the tactics of wire fu, which is common in Hong Kong cinema, and combines kung fu with wire work, hence the name. It's a beautifully shot tribute to the films that inspired the Wachowskis and a testament to Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne, and Wu Ping's dedication to their work. Rama vs. Machete Gang, The Raid Redemption. In the Indonesian action thriller The Raid Redemption, one fight stands above the rest, and it's Rama versus the Machete Gang. Fighting one person holding a machete is tricky enough, I definitely don't recommend it. Fighting an entire gang of machete-wielding martial arts experts, that's just plain nuts. But protagonist Rama, played by Iko Uwais, doesn't have much of a choice because in The Raid, he's on a mission to take down a brutal crime lord named Tama. Tama's offered sanctuary to every criminal in his high-rise apartment block, and now Rama must lead a team of commandos on a violent charge through the building. For such a seemingly chaotic sequence, a tremendous amount of careful planning was required, specifically when it came to fight choreography. Rama rapidly dodges blade swing after blade swing and delivers one of the most disturbingly awesome kills you might ever see in a film, in which he jumps in the air, holding a gang member's head, and slams said gang member's head down onto the sharp remnants of a broken door. Like I said, disturbing, but exactly the kind of thing you sign up to see in a movie called The Raid Redemption. Actor Iko Uwais was working as an operational driver at an Indonesian telecom company when he caught the attention of Raid director Gareth Evans in a training hall. One thing led to another, and Uwais soon had his first leading role in Evans' martial arts film Berandal, in which then led him to sign a 5-year contract with Evans' production company. Eventually, Uwais was able to resign from his driver job so that he could focus on, beating up bad guys full time. Dojo fight, Fist of Fury. It doesn't get more iconic than the Dojo fight scene from the 1972 film Fist of Fury starring Bruce Lee. Lee plays Chen Zhen, a kung fu fighter who is hell-bent on avenging his relatives and bringing justice to those who were responsible for his master's death. This leads to some serious butt-kicking at the dojo when Zhen challenges not one fighter, but all fighters at once. There's so much to unpack in this scene, from the superb one-liners like "you must be tired of living" to the epic mullets some of these guys are rocking. By the way, again, this was 1972, a decade ahead of the mullet craze. And those ADR sound effects, which may sound out of place today, they did contribute to the overall style and charm of the film. But the real reason this scene lands on our list is Lee himself, who is so incredibly magnetic, so hilarious at times, and yet always powerful. He commands the attention of the audience with his skill and personality alone. You can't look away. He's also in really good shape, and he takes his shirt off, and those abs aren't free. Trust me. But still, nobody's ever been or will ever be like Bruce Lee again, and this film, especially this fight sequence, are part of what defined his career and made him the legend that we still admire today. Speaking of legends, here's a fun fact. A very young Jackie Chan appeared in this film as both a student and a stunt double, and at one point actually gets kicked by Lee and flies through the air. Ugh, getting kicked by Bruce Lee. Kind of an honor. Bone breaker fight, The Protector. The Bone Breaker fight from the 2005 Thai film The Protector holds the Guinness World Record for the most bones broken in a single scene. Okay, I might have made that part up, but you could believe it's true. The Protector, originally titled Tom Young Goong, follows a young fighter named Kam, who travels to Australia in search of the stolen elephants that were originally promised to the King of Thailand. Multi-talented actor Tony Jaa stars in the leading role, one in which his fighting prowess is on full display. Jaa grew up watching the films of Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, and Jet Li, and was inspired to follow in the footsteps of his idols. He began his Muay Thai training at the age of 10, and by the age of 15, he was a protege of Thai director and stuntman Tana Ritikret. Jaa finally had his breakout leading role in the 2003 film Ong Bak, Muay Thai Warrior, directed by Prachya Pinkau. Pinkau would go on to direct this film, Jaa's second major movie, and gift us with this sequence in which Jaa literally breaks people's arms and legs for 4 minutes straight. For this film, Jaa created a new style of Muay Thai, which translates to elephant boxing, and in an interview stated that he wanted the moves to imitate how an elephant would defend itself, with the arms acting as the trunk. Jackie Chan called Jaa the most well-rounded of all action stars. And I think Jackie's right. You can't find me another actor that can gang fight while imitating an elephant. Majun versus Tony, Flashpoint. Donnie Yen is back in the Ma-Jun versus Tony fight scene from the film Flashpoint. Ma-Jun, a police officer with a reputation for violent behavior, manages to track down Tony, a brutal criminal, towards the end of the film, and the two face off in an abandoned village. It's a grueling display of hand-to-hand combat. No weapons, no elephant impressions, just fisticuffs. Okay, there is some kicking too. It is martial arts after all. Similar to many of the actors on this list, Yen isn't just the star of his films, he's also heavily involved in the fight choreography and performs his own stunts. For the fights in Flashpoint, Yen combined elements of jiu-jitsu, karate, boxing, judo, taekwondo, and wushu. If you're keeping score at home, I know none of those. He also wanted to ensure that the action scenes hit as hard as they possibly could, literally, so he insisted that Taiwanese martial artist Colin Chow be cast as Tony. Chow is known for his role in the first two Matrix sequels and has starred alongside Jet Li and Jackie Chan. And that's exactly why this fight scene is so effective. You have two experts at the peak of their powers doing what they do best, being badasses. If you're wondering who wins the fight, go watch Flashpoint. It's awesome. Shu Lin versus Jen Yu, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Next up is Shu Lin versus Jen Yu from the hit film Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, directed by Ang Lee. This is easily one of the most epic sword duels I've ever seen. Well, at least on film. I haven't seen that many sword duels in person, though there are two states in the US, Washington and Texas, where you can legally challenge someone to a duel so long as a police officer overseas. Probably shouldn't get involved in that. I digress. Shu Lin is played by Michelle Yeoh, a role which earned her a BAFTA nomination for Best Actress and contributed to her reputation as one of the greatest action heroines of all time. Not to be outshined by her co-star Zhang Ziyi, who plays Jen Yu, and has become one of the most awarded and recognized Chinese actresses in history. The level of talent between the two of them is almost too much for one scene, and once you add in Wu Ping Yen's choreography into the mix, it's a done deal. This fight is a masterpiece, and if you disagree, you can meet me in Texas or Washington, and we'll settle this. Yeoh admitted in interviews that she was unfamiliar with the traditional styles director Ang Lee had in mind, blending influences from Peking opera and acrobatics. And during a pivotal sequence in the film, Yeoh tore a knee ligament while performing one of her own stunts. But like the badass she is, she returned to work as soon as she healed from the surgery and finished her remaining scenes. Yeoh's real-life pain and dedication mirrored her characters, and in one of Yeoh's tearful goodbye sequences, Lee had to excuse himself to cry in private for 15 minutes after being so moved by her performance, saying that he knew those tears were real. Rama versus the Assassin, The Raid 2, Berandal. Iko Uwais strikes again in the Rama vs. the Assassin fight from The Raid 2, Berandal. In this sequel to The Raid Redemption, Rama's attracted the attention of gangsters even more deadly than the last, and with his family now at risk, he must lay his life on the line once again to finally destroy the criminal empire. After infiltrating a warehouse and battling a plethora of henchmen, then fighting a girl who uses claw hammers as her signature weapon, and also fighting her brother, a guy wielding a baseball bat, Rama comes upon the top enforcer in the film, known as the Assassin, in a kitchen, and the two duke it out. You'd think Rama would have had enough by this point, But this is Iko Uwais we're talking about, remember, the guy who wiped the floor with an entire gang of dudes with machetes. Anyways, as reality TV has taught us, if there's too many cooks in the kitchen, one of them's gotta go, and what ensues is over 6 minutes of unrelentingly vicious combat featuring Uwais's go-to pencak silat style. This Indonesian form of martial arts involves full body fighting with rapid striking, grappling, and occasionally tossing in some weaponry, like the sharp karambits that Assassin whips out mid-fight. According to director Gareth Evans, this kitchen fight took a month and a half to design due to the complexity and intricate choreography. Like all the fight sequences in the Raid films, the crew practiced on crash mats in a rented-out office space, rehearsing and shooting the scene until it was just right before they then tackled a real shot on location. Thomas vs. Thug, Wheels on Meals. Last up is Thomas vs. Thug from the Sammo Hung action comedy Wheels on Meals. For this scene, Chan is fighting Benny Urquidez, an American kickboxing champion who is nicknamed the Jet due to his explosive spinning back kick. And in several of his movies, he portrays a tough and almost undefeatable bad guy, the kind you wait until the climax of the film to fight, and that's exactly what happens in Wheels on Meals. This Chan vs. Urquidez fight is considered one of the greatest in any film ever, and even Chan himself was blown away by the skill and power of Urquidez. But not as blown away as that row of candles that Urquidez extinguishes with the airflow from one of his spin kicks. Yeah, that wasn't movie magic, he actually did that. And there you have it, our selections for the most iconic martial arts fights. Obviously, we couldn't include every epic sequence that fits the criteria, but fear not, there are plenty of new episodes of RT Essentials coming your way, so I'm sure we'll get to Hard Target eventually. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Mark Ellis, and to all you aspiring martial arts filmmakers out there, remember what Bruce Lee said: absorb what is useful, discard what is useless, and add what is specifically your own.